up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre reviews and reviews. Back in here with one more video. All right, guys, you see the title, you see the thumbnail. It's time to get active. Shout out to the OG, the scholar himself, Mr. Jordan Peterson. Apparently, he's getting better. I wish him well. I wish him the best. We're going to go over some content from him. Jordan Peterson discussing whether men and women can ever be equal. All right. I'm excited to get into this one in the light of a few conversations that I had over the past several weeks and a few conversations that I've heard in the media over the past several days. Without further ado.
What do you understand by equality, Sophie? What does it mean to you?
Freedom.
Oh. I didn't think I was going to have to pause it this quick. When you ask oh, by the way, I can no longer say the F word on the channel because YouTube doesn't like it. Get you demonetized. So instead of the F word, from now on, we're going to say femi. All right? They don't know that word quite yet. Anyway, when a femi says or answers the question of what does equality mean, and she responds with freedom with a period on the end of it, you already know you're in for a wild ride of a conversation. Let's move on.
Can you be more, is it equality of opportunity? Is it equal pay across the board? Is it something more than that?
I think equality's better for everyone. I think,
okay.
you know, and I'm really delighted, you know, I love my job because it's an optimistic and a hopeful job, which is about creating more choices for people. I'm interested in people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
Aha, well, so you're going to have choices and equality of outcome. What if people choose different things, which is what they've been doing in Scandinavia? So the Scandinavian countries have moved more towards gender equality than any other countries, and the personality differences in Scandinavia have increased rather than decreased, and the proportion of women who are choosing STEM fields has decreased rather than increased. So as cultures become more gender neutral, the number of women who choose STEM fields decreases.
What do you mean by STEM fields?
So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Let's assess that real quick, because what he was saying is that as certain societies have become more gender neutral, you see people choosing categories of things that they are into based off of their identity, based off of their gender. So when the young lady in the beginning is talking about equality of outcome and then having equal choices, the two just doesn't merge together, because what she's not considering is that different people choose different-ish depending upon the individuality. But from a gender perspective, you see men doing certain things and you see women doing other things. From a gender perspective, you see men doing much more dangerous jobs, much more solitary jobs. From a woman's perspective, you see much more nurturing jobs, right? Like much more together jobs where there's a group of people. I mean, just name it, on both sides of the coin. Okay, let's move on.
So if you let men and women make their choices, what actually happens is that they specialize in different situations, and you don't get equality of outcome.
Could they not have been programmed to have those views from the moment we raise them and give boys Lego and construction?
No, because what happens is that as countries get more egalitarian, which means there's less programming of that sort, the differences get larger, not smaller. And the scientific data on that is clear. And most of it was generated by people who have a left-leaning bias, so you can't blame it on conservative scientists. It was a shock to everyone to find that out.
Sophie,
I think the difference between Jordan and me is that we look at evidence and we lean towards different theories. So Jordan's theory is very much evolutionary, you know, that there are inherent differences in men and women. Mine is very much more social role theory, if you like, and that men and women are taking on different roles due to the expectations that society puts on them. And it's interesting that Jordan frequently cites Scandinavian countries where they've made more, like there's nowhere in the world that women are equal, but Scandinavia has made the most progress towards shared parenting, etc.
Yep.
That said, it's not done yet. There's nowhere in the world where this is done yet.
But it's having the opposite effect that the gender equality types predicted. Opposite, not the same. And it isn't a theory, it's actually data driven by tens of thousands of surveys and the best scientific literature on the topic. It's not a theory, and I didn't come about it because of my political perspective. I looked at the data. What it showed was that as countries become more egalitarian, the differences between men and women grow. They don't shrink.
So what I'm interested in is...
Which completely debunks what she is saying. Which completely debunks, because what she's saying is that it's based off of societal norms as to what men and women are picking. So that leads me to conclude, based off societal norms, and society is judging that because you are a man, you should do this, and because you are a woman, you should do this, is the reason why there's a lot more men in STEM fields. And it's not society saying you're a man, you're better at math, engineering. It's the jobs that a man feels more passionate about generally is in those STEM fields. That's what Jordan is saying, but she's saying that that is not the case. Let's keep going.
Is data and analysis as well. And I'm particularly interested in the ones presented, such as the ones by the University of Southern California.
Oh, she's got data!
Which discovered that change towards gender equality is actually being slowed by beliefs that are legitimizing social inequalities on the basis of sex. And I'm also interested, I mean, like Jordan, I look at the data and I look at the studies, and I'm really also very much interested in studies like the analysis that was done by the American Psychological Society, which looked at 45 analysis of whether there's sex difference over 20 years. And its conclusion was that men and women are basically alike in terms of personality, in terms of cognitive ability, in terms of leadership. But what it did find was that media depictions of men and women as fundamentally different perpetuate misconceptions, as does workplace bias.
Oh, God,
so notice, okay, when she said basically alike, and then she went into the categorical differences or the categories of what she's saying basically alike. I think that's important because she was saying, like, from a personality perspective, right? The other two things that she labeled. So I think that that's important in a conversation when someone says basically alike and then they give you more information after that. Unless you're actively listening, you won't hear the information after that to tear apart her original supposition, which is very important, which I tell you guys all the time on the channel. Please actively listen when you're going into these discussions, especially in a discussion where the person seems to be open to debate, not open to argue. There's plenty of conversations that I had on this channel that have gone live over the last several months where one person was looking to debate, have a conversation, have a discussion, and other person was looking to argue, to talk over, to win over, right? And the difference doesn't really come across to a viewer as getting things done, and I understand that. But when you have two people willing to toss ideas up in the air and they both have data on both sides of the coin, listen to the words that she has to say. If I was to guess, I'd say Jordan is about to tear up how she said like and then gave these three categories. Let's watch.
It's my fault.
So, no, well, you know, you're leaving soon. So
men and women actually are more the same than they are different. But the issue is that small differences at the population level can turn into very large differences at the extreme. So, for example, men and women are broadly similar with regards to aggression, although men tilt a little bit more towards aggression. So that if you picked a random person out of the population, male and female, and you guessed that the male was more aggressive, you'd be right 60% of the time. But if you take the 1 in 100 most aggressive people, they're all male. And that's why the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that?
He about to get in. He about to get in there. So notice what he just did. Okay. So we took a scientific study that she brought up in the three categories of saying that men and women are basically alike, and she was attributing that to, well, this means that society is telling us that we're different. And what he just said is that at a sample size, which, you know, all these studies have to go off the sample size because it can't be a population because the population is in the entire world, right? So when it goes off of a sample size, what something is a few percentage points difference at a small end of the scale, when you get to a population size, it becomes a wide difference. It becomes a wide variance. which when you think of the gap, the wide variance, that wide variance could then take whatever subset of personality and characteristics based on their individual needs, can take that and then go into STEM. So then if those people then go into STEM, then from a perception perspective, it looks like there's inequalities, when really at the large end of a population distribution perspective, those people may be choosing these particular types of roles and jobs. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But my man Jordan came back with, would you like to equalize things that are negative for men? I'm gonna roll it back a couple of seconds so we can hear him start to do that. Hold on.
Of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that? Just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male. And we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They're more likely to move. They're more likely to work outside. They're more likely to participate.
This is the look of pure despair that she's on a talk show right now and just doesn't know where to go from here. All right? Doesn't know where to go from here, right? On the outside, she's trying to prepare her argument. On the inside, she's like this. I don't know what to do. Hold on. Jordan was cooking. My apologies, Jordan. Let's get back in there.
Participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable. They make more money for those reasons. And that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender. It's a very simplistic analysis, and trying to address.
I just want to say, quite simply, can you come back on that?
What I'm trying to equalise is opportunity and choice.
Fine, let's equalise choice.
You agree?
She didn't address anything that he just said. This is often a common conversation tactic as well. You bring out the the data, the facts, the statistics. And listen, when you're doing debates like this, because they're both debating, logic will win. Okay, in a lot of these debates. But oftentimes in these conversations that you guys are having with people in and around you, it's not about debating. Some people just want to win arguments, right? And and you debating based off of logic doesn't mean that you will win. Okay, keep that in mind. But she didn't address anything that he just said.
Agree on that, but we won't get equal outcome that way.
And I think that what happens then, nobody knows, because we've never done it.
We do know. We know what's happened in Scandinavia.
But it's not fully got there yet.
No, but it's going in the opposite direction that everyone predicted, and strongly.
I think one of the things I loved about Jordan's book, which I speed read last night, so forgive me, Jordan, I've not read every line. But one of my favourite rules in Jordan's book is Rule 9, which says, assume the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a country where men outnumber women by 2 to 1 in Parliament, in local government, where women's voices are not equally represented in media, where our education systems still are teaching boys and girls ideas of pink and blue. Yeah. What I'm trying to do is work with thousands of optimistic, hopeful people for change.
Okay.
So she utilized the quote as a tactic to throw in there when her back was against the wall. I love that quote, by the way. Assume the other person knows something that you don't. I might have messed it up a little bit. I love that. And I love that because it always puts you in a humble position to hear other people's thoughts and opinions. And I often think through this as I'm having these conversations on the channel, is that I'm always willing to listen. I'm always willing to learn. I have my own points and my own positions, and I'm going to come through with them, and I'm going to maintain my stance if I've been introspective in those thoughts, and ideas. But assuming that someone else is unworthy of critiquing or criticizing what you say, I think puts you in a position where you're not willing to open up your ears to learn more about yourself or perhaps the world around you. Okay. But now that she threw that in there, she threw in a quote and then went into a feelings-based diatribe. Now she's sitting back and she's like, gotcha. That right there is the gotcha face. Gotcha. Combat that. Let's see what Mr. Peterson does.
You kept very quiet through this, Michael. I'm going to make you put you under a bit of pressure. Do forgive me. I'm going to come to the calls in a moment. Your boss called the gender pay gap a burning injustice. Is it?
Yes, it is, because there should be inequality of
he needs to take that
opportunity.
wig off.
There needs to be the same rights. But something that surprised
outcome,
me,
quality of
that
outcome.
neither of you, and the quality of outcome, sure, all of that. But the one thing both of you haven't mentioned is the biological difference, which unfortunately affects women's career prospects, whether we like
Babies
it or
as
not.
well, yeah.
Babies. And that does cause a problem. If I were to take a sabbatical from a corporation
maternity leave.
for a while, it's going to set me back slightly. And it is a problem that biologically it's women who have babies, not men.
Sure, but that's why we are the Women's Equality Party is the only party in the UK that's got policies around shared parental leave.
She's so political.
We're the only party that has got fully costed plans for universal free childcare. What we're saying is that
We're trying to change the
we're trying to
outcomes.
change the outcomes, and also men are joining our party. Men who are
I
really
think,
as I said,
tired.
you've got
I'm sure
my-
I'm going to have a word with Michael because I am sure he'll want the application.
Okay, forgive me.
We take joint
Forgive me, I
membership.
want to take one call if
But-
you'll forgive me, because time is really short, and I owe it to the viewers to hear their views on this.
We've got Celine calling from Manchester.
Celine, good morning.
Hi Matthew, how you doing?
I'm very well. I'm loving it. I'm picking heaven today. What do we think about equality? Will it ever happen, Celine?
I was going to say I thought it was going to happen, but after listening to Jordan, he's swayed my opinion.
Oh, no. Why did you think it was going to happen?
Because I think we're going to become more cognitive creatures, and jobs are going to be more about mental skills.
Technology.
But then I've been visited schools, and I work in STEM. I'm a software developer, and the number of women doing software development hasn't increased. I would have thought they would have increased
With more
more. But
scholarships.
I went into secondary school to do GCSE IT stuff, and there's very, very few girls doing IT. And I was thinking, IT is the future, and the schools are pushing for more girls to go into IT.
Yeah, they are.
But there's only I visited about 8 schools.
Can I
and
just,
thought-
sorry, Celine, can I just
Go on,
no, because I'm 30 seconds. Sophie's idea, actually, representations in the media could be affecting such choices. Geeks, we see geeks, bespectacled blokes with bad hair on computers. That's what tech means, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because I think actually that one of the other things we want to do is to have a look at curriculums, to have more female role models, to encourage girls, because so long as we still see STEM as a boys' area that we're trying to get girls into, it's not going to work. We need to do the work we're doing on care, get more boys thinking about, nursing, teaching, more role models for boys in schools.
And
That's
having
the way you break
games
it all
on
down.
programmes like EastEnders, The Archers, that's helped them.
Complete.
a lot.
Right, so listen, I have to draw things to a conclusion.
All right, they're probably done. Listen, at the end of the day, I think that I understand her point. I understand her point, and it's the whole nature versus nurture discussion. Essentially, Jordan is at a nature discussion, evolutionary biology level, and he's using data, facts, and statistics to show an egalitarian society where they're gender neutral, and they see that it's going in the complete opposite direction, which is the benefit of doing scientific studies like this, because you really never know. But I do understand her point. Could there be a nurture perspective in there that is driving different genders to select different paths based off of what they see in the media, right? You see boys blue, girls pink. Is it that boys like blue more, or that girls should like pink more, and then girls wear pink more because, right? Or is it just a more feminine color? So great question, great discussion. I love going over Jordan Peterson videos because not only does he bring to the discussion facts, and he illustrates them very coherently, very succinctly, but then he can do it in a very measured and a stoic way. I would advise you guys, as you go on your path and you're having these discussions with people, try to focus on not getting triggered on things that you hear that completely make no sense to your belief system, and attack the beliefs, not the person. I learned a lot in this discussion here today. Hopefully you did as well. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. That's my contact. If you feel like you want to hit me up, got an Instagram as well. Link down in the description box down below. Go up there and add your boy. Final thing, have a Patreon. Feel free. Another link down in the description box down below to see all the benefits in store. Support your boy, all right? Because it's probably going to be demonetized for talking about the Femmies, okay? The Femmies. Until next time, YouTube.